Our model is shaping up nicely. We're ready to extrude out a canopy for the cockpit. Right-click and choose Face Component Mode and select the top 3 faces. Grow the selection out with the keyboard shortcut Shift period. And in the menus, choose Edit Mesh, Face Extrude. This time we do want to use the manipulator. Pull it out in the Z-axis by clicking on the blue arrow and dragging. So we've extruded it upward. Let's now try to shift it over using the X arrow here. And you'll see that the whole thing shifts over to the right. If we want a symmetrical behavior, we can achieve that in numerous ways. One way is to switch the behavior of the manipulator itself. I'm going to press Z to undo that. As long as that manipulator is active, and I see a little blue circle here, I can toggle between various types of manipulators. In this case, we will be able to switch over to world coordinate space. Click on the little blue circle. And now we're in world space. We can scale in X. Click on the red box and drag. Or scale in Z. Click on the blue box. Or position. Click and drag on the arrows. We want to be able to extract this piece out to another mesh object. And before we do that, we want to set up its edge loops so that they're nice and round, so it will extract out as an oval shape. We need to move these edges and points around on the model. I'm going to switch over to the standard Move tool and double-click on the Move tool. Enable Symmetry in Object Space. We can close the tool settings. And now we can select by vertex. Right-click and choose Vertex. Click on a vertex and you can select it. Click on these two here, for example, and shift them forward. We want to try to maintain the shape here so that we're not distorting it too much. Look at that in the top view. Tap the space bar. We want to have a nice curve running there, as seen from the top view. Do the same in the back. Select these points. Move it back. Perhaps adjust its height. Check it in all the views. And try to achieve as good of a curve you can through here. One part of our model that we need to look at is the back. The best way to model this would be simply with standard polygon tools rather than subdivision surfaces. We're not going for super realism here. We just want to give the impression of a jet exhaust. I'll create a cylinder, and we can then actually snap these sub-D vertices to that cylinder. We've got 12 vertices in all here. We can check that. Right-click, go to Vertex Component Mode. Select all the vertices at the end. And go to Display, Heads-Up Display, Poly Count. And you'll see we've got 12 vertices. Right-click and go back out to Object Mode. And let's go to the front viewport. Tap the space bar, go to the front view, and create a cylinder with only 12 sides. I've got my channel box hidden. Let's re-enable that over here. Go into the Create menu, Polygon Primitives, Cylinder, snap to the center. Hold down the X key and you'll snap to the grid. Draw that out. Release the mouse and then over in the perspective view, switch to wireframe with the 4 key and click and drag to extend that cylinder. Now it's created. We can push it back with a Move tool. Go back to shaded view with the 5 key. In its inputs, we can adjust the number of subdivisions, axis, set it to 12. Same as the number of vertices here. Subdivisions caps set to 0. We want to align it with the vertices that are already there. Rotate it around the Z-axis 15 degrees. Check that in the front view. Tap the space bar. And you see these edge loops are now lining up with the vertices on that cylinder. Tap the space bar again. And now we can just go ahead and snap these. We'll need to set the radius appropriately. It's going to be different in every scene. Maybe I'll set it to 1.2 and position it. Check that in the side view. One thing that might be helpful in this case is actually turning on X-ray up here. So I'm in shaded mode. And now I've got X-ray and also turn on wireframe unshaded. This will give me a better idea of whether I'm lined up or not. Set the radius a little bit larger. 1.27 maybe. Okay, and now we can snap the vertices. Just turn on Snap to Vertex here. Now we can move the control vertices on our Sub-D object. Select the Sub-D object and press the 1 key, turning off Smooth Mesh Preview. And then right-click and enter Vertex Component. Select these vertices. And once again, with Snap to Vertex turned on, we can just position them. If you wish, you can also use Soft Select so that you'll get a more pleasing curvature here. Let me undo that with the Z key. And turn on Soft Selection with the B key. And then change the brush radius. Hold down B. Drag in the viewport. I just want to include that one nearby vertex. And then snap. Okay, I'm just finishing up the last of those vertices to snap. I only had to do one side. The other side was snapped automatically because I had symmetry enabled. Very good. Press the 3 key. And now we've got a nice round end to the plane. And with this cylinder now, we can increase its level of detail. Right-click and go back out to Object Mode. Select the cylinder, back in its inputs. Increase the number of subdivisions axis to 96 and press Enter. Now we've got a very high resolution cylinder. And you'll notice that that lines up very nicely with our subdivision object. We'll need to adjust the radius a little bit to compensate. Okay, that's looking good. I can turn off Snap to Vertex. Select this back face. Right-click and choose Face. Select it. Turn off Soft Selection with the B key. We'll extrude it inward a little bit. Edit Mesh. Face Extrude. We just want to adjust the offset value. Select it and middle mouse drag a little bit. Give it a value of about 2 or 3. And then extrude again with the G key and push that inward. Check that in the side view. All right, we've got a basic topology there for that exhaust. Select the vertices at the end. Right-click and go to Vertex Component Mode. Select them. Use the Scale tool. Notice that the Scale tool is no longer in the center, and that's because we have symmetry turned on. We'll need to disable symmetry now. Double-click the Scale tool and turn symmetry off. We can scale it now. Check it in all the views. We want to line it up with the existing geometry. Let's turn off our X-ray mode here. Maybe turn our poly count back off again. Display heads-up display poly count. Scale it equally in all axes. To complete this jet exhaust, I want a kind of floral structure here. And I can do that with soft selection, but I need to precisely select every 8th edge here. And I can speed that process by using symmetry. Right now I want to freeze the transforms to sort of reset my symmetry because currently I've got a rotation value here. We need to zero that out. Select the object and go to Freeze Transformation Options. Make sure that Translate, Rotate, Scale are all selected. And now we got Rotate X, Y, and Z values of 0. Next, go into the Move Tool settings. Double-click on the Move Tool and set Symmetry to Object. Close that. Right-click and go into Edge Component Mode. And select the edge up at the very top in the back. And now select every 8th edge. And you might want to have just the Select tool active. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold down Control, Shift, and click, and you'll see it is selecting on the other side too. Just carefully count that out till you reach the bottom. Getting down to the bottom here, you know that you've done it right if your selection is symmetrical. Control Shift and select that last edge. We might want to save that selection just in case we lose it. Create, Sets, Quick Select Set, and we'll call it Exhaust Edges. Click OK. And re-enable soft selection with the B key. Hold down B and drag left to right to change the fall-off radius. Grab the Move tool, move it in Z and see what you get. That's kind of okay. I can undo that with the Z key. We can customize it a little bit. Double-click on the Move tool and scroll up and you will see Soft Selection. And we just got a default curve here, but we can change this. Select this first point in the upper left, change the interpolation to linear, and then click to create a few more points. And drag them down a bit, and you can observe the results in the viewport. And then increase the radius maybe a little bit. Hold down B and drag. See what that looks like. I think I like that better. I can also scale. Use the R keyboard shortcut. Great. Right-click, go back to object mode. We can turn off soft selection with the B key or by turning it off here. And we're in good condition now. Let's increment and save once again.